Friday, and today we're talking about the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And where to start? Well, first of all, we probably need to change that. That looks a bit more accurate for the weekend, with a lot of weather affecting qualifying and the race. Max Verstappen showed why he is a champion with an absolute masterclass of a drive, starting P17 and coming through the field to win the race. And championship rival Lando Norris had a torrid day, starting the race on pole and finishing P7 with a €5,000 fine and a reprimand from the FIA. Now, there was a lot of questions being asked about when qualifying should be run. On the Saturday, it was torrential rain, so they took the decision to delay until before the race on Sunday. But unfortunately, weather conditions did not improve and did not allow drivers to push to the limit, because if they did, they ended up in the barriers, and this brought out a lot of red flags, as Alex Albon, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz and Franco Colapinto all found out. Which asked the question, should the race itself have been delayed? They could have run the qualifying and race the following weekend. What do you think? Put your thoughts in the comments below and we can discuss. And my thoughts are, I think the qualifying should have gone ahead on the Saturday, because they're all trying to qualify on intermediate tyres, and there are the wet weather tyre available, which is there to deal with large quantities of water, to deal with standing water, but they're pushing too hard. They're trying to get the fastest lap time, which is understandable, but the conditions don't allow this. So I think it should have been mandated wet tyres for the wet qualifying on the Saturday. And what the red flags meant in qualifying were there was a few drivers out of position, and most notably the two Red Bulls of Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. And big drama on the formation lap when Lance Stroll lost control of the Aston and ended up hitting the barriers before coming to a stop. He did attempt to drive back onto the track and carry on with the race, but for some reason decided to cut over the gravel trap, which, as it says in the name, trapped him in the gravel, and that was the end of his race. And this led to the large confusion at the start of the race, with the aborted start, where Lando Norris misunderstood and thought it was an extra formation lap. So the main difference was, on the overhead panel, it just said aborted start. It did not give a green light, which the other drivers did understand, and Max Verstappen notably saying, you only drive away when you get the green light, which was never shown. And because of this mistake, Lando Norris, after the race, along with George Russell, both received a €5,000 fine and a reprimand from the FIA. When the race finally got underway, Lando Norris, starting on pole, once again lost first place going into turn 1, as he failed to cover the inside line, and George Russell took advantage of this. On the other hand, Max Verstappen, starting in 17th place, was up into P11 after the first lap, taking advantage of the early passing opportunities. On lap 29, Nico Hülkenberg brought out the yellow flags, getting himself beached on the tarmac and requiring outside assistance to get the car moving again, which found him disqualified from the race. Shortly following this was a virtual safety car, which led both George Russell and Lando Norris to try and take advantage of this and pit under the virtual safety car, but unfortunately as they came in, it ended. A few on track elected to stay out in the conditions and try and take advantage of any safety car or red flag that might come out in these conditions. Very shortly after, Franco Colapinto lost control on the start-finish straight and brought out the red flag. So those that stayed out took advantage of the red flag rules, able to change their tyres in the pit lane before restarting the race with a fresh pair of tyres. Now, should this be allowed? Or should you have to start the race on the tyres you're on previously? Because changing your tyres to a new set is an unfair advantage, as Max Verstappen and the two Alpines of Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly found out. Following the red flag, there was a safety car restart where Esteban Ocon led them away and managed to pull around a 3.5 second gap to Max Verstappen in the conditions, until lap 40, where Carlos Sainz locked up on the white line, breaking the front suspension, leaving him out of the race. And this brought out the safety car, which bunched the pack up. After the next restart, Max Verstappen quickly took advantage of this, getting past Esteban Ocon and then disappearing off into the distance, showcasing a fantastic drive and winning from P17 on the grid. Lando Norris, on the other hand, once again stuck behind George Russell off the restart, failed to make any more overtakes and finished in P6. It does beg the question though, if Franco Colapinto hadn't have crashed, where would Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly have ended up? They were on very worn intermediates with the rain coming down quite heavily. It was an extreme gamble that luckily did pay off. In an interview after the race, Lando Norris mentioned that Max Verstappen got extremely lucky to win the race, which on some level I agree with. The red flag coming out at the right time did benefit him. However, Max was the one who made the overtakes, who drove phenomenally, and Lando on the other hand, like I've said, didn't really make any efforts to overtake, didn't take any risks, and found himself down in P6. Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon on the other hand, yep, they drove extremely well in the conditions, but again, I think they took advantage of the red flag rules. If it was anybody else at the front, was it George Russell, I think they'd have finished just as well. But good race strategy and great result for them. So what does this mean for Lando Norris? Coming into the weekend, it looked like Max would be starting from near the back of the grid. Lando Norris was more or less set to take pole, so expecting a big swing of points. Previously, before the weekend, it was 44. It could have been down to 20 potentially if Max didn't get into the points, but it did swing the other way. So now it's up at 62 points. So if Max wins in Vegas, that means the championship's his. So is this too far now for Norris to make up? Is it Max Verstappen's championship now? Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in Vegas.